Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Codo's Cinema. I'm your host, Mark Codo, and today I'm going to count down my top 10 favorite animated films of all time. Now, just to be clear, when I meant animated films, I meant animated films from different studios. So don't expect to hear anything from Disney because that will be a list for another day. All right. So anyway, by the way, this is the fifth episode of Codo's Cinema, which is actually pretty exciting because hey, fifth time doing Codo's Cinema and episode 5. That's actually pretty good. All right, we're going on to the list right now. Number 10, An American Tail. Kicking off this list is one of the earliest animated films that came out in 1986 by animator and director Don Bluth. If I'm pronouncing his name correctly, Don Bluth. Bluth. Don Bluth. Yeah, Bluth. Yeah. So basically, this is one of Don Bluth's earliest animated films, and it's actually surprisingly pretty good. It's a story about a mouse named Fivo Mouskovitz who travels to America for a new home, basically because his home somewhere in the Ukraine was being attacked by cats. Well, in a whole mouse movie and story perspective. So anyway, throughout the movie, it's actually a pretty good movie, and I think it's one of the most underrated movies of all time. For an animated movie, it's actually pretty good. And first time watching it, I thought it was a Disney movie at first, but no, I was totally wrong. It was actually this movie was in collaboration with Don Bluth, Steven Spielberg, Amblin Entertainment, and Universal Pictures, which is actually surprising because it almost caught me off guard as being a Disney film, but no, it was actually pretty good because of the animation itself. Now, the story for this movie is actually pretty good, where Fivo goes to America for the very first time. But he also gets into some trouble a little bit while also facing off some cats in the film, which surprisingly, hey, there are cats in America anyway. anyway, what I actually do enjoy this film. It did beat out The Great Mouse Detective at the box office, which is surprisingly, and this is one of Don Bluth's and Steven Spielberg's earlier collaborations on this film, which later on in 1988 they went on to do The Land Before Time with Star Wars director and creator George Lucas. And that's why American Tail is one of my top 10 favorite animated movies of all time. All right, moving forward. Number 9, Kung Fu Panda. Speaking of Steven Spielberg, here's a fact. Kung Fu Panda was released by DreamWorks Pictures, which surprisingly, Steven Spielberg is one of the co-founders of DreamWorks, and not to mention with other Disney collaborator and producer Jeffrey Katzenberg, as well as another founder named Geffen, which all three founders created DreamWorks, which is actually surprising. Now, Steven Spielberg did not work on Kung Fu Panda, though. But anyway, I thought I'd bring this up just to give it a little fun history and fun fact. Anyway, Kung Fu Panda is one of my favorite animated movies of all time. And it's not just the animation itself, but it's actually the story. It's a story about a panda who works at his father's noodle restaurant, but later decides to become a kung fu master. But in this movie, he learns the ways of kung fu by accidentally sitting on a chair full of fireworks that sends him off to the palace. Even though, in the words of Master Oogway, there are no accidents. And the story is actually pretty good. I love the story was actually pretty good. Even the voice cast was excellent with Jack Black Jack Black plays a panda named Po, who's basically the Kung Fu Panda. Dustin Hoffman plays his master Shifu, and including other voice actors, which includes Angelina Jolie, Lucy Liu, Jackie Chan, Seth Rogen, David Cross, Ian McShane, among many others, to which Po has to face off a former master of kung fu named Tai Lung, which is, I'm pretty sure he is a snow leopard of some sort. Now, within this movie, the story is great, as always. I love the voice acting, not to mention the funniest moments. It's actually a movie that'll make you laugh out loud because of some of the action sequences I really like. That actually made me laugh because, Jack Black voicing Po, which is actually a very funny character. It literally gets me laughing anyway. But it's actually a pretty good film, especially the sequels. Even the two other sequels are also great too, because it continues Po's journey as a kung fu warrior while going into becoming a master. Anyway, that is number 9. Kung Fu Panda is number 9 on my list. All right, moving forward. Number 8, Despicable Me. Now, Despicable Me is one of my other favorite animated films from Universal, and being the first for Illumination Studios. Because in 2010, Despicable Me has become one of the greatest animated films of all time, which literally kickstarted the Despicable Me franchise. Now, it's the story about a supervillain named Gru, who is basically who's basically, as always, a bad guy, and throughout the story, he later adopts three orphan girls, which one of them is being voiced by iCarly star Miranda Cosgrove. And he basically adopts these three girls to help steal a shrink ray from another supervillain named Vector, voiced by Jason Segel. Now, this basically did set up the plot for that whole shrink ray thing, where Gru becomes a supervillain, wants to steal the moon by stealing the shrink ray and shrink the moon and stealing it. That's basically one of the main areas of the film. But throughout the movie, Gru, voiced by Steve Carell, literally learns the ways and knows what it means to be a father figure, which is basically what I like about this movie. And it does happen throughout the other sequels, where Gru in the other sequels is more of a father figure, which I actually thought it was actually pretty good. On a high note, I do enjoy this movie. It's a very good movie. Like I said, it helped kickstart the Despicable Me franchise, and I just can't wait to see what the spin-off prequel Minions 2: The Rise of Gru will look like sometime in 2020. Anyway, moving forward, number 7, The Simpsons movie. All right, people. Okay, I'm pretty sure we all love the Simpsons movie, right? All right, admit it, we all do, because the Simpsons movie has become one of the greatest animated films of all time. Like literally a film that took literally 18 years in the making of how far the Simpsons series has been going. Even today, 30 years, the Simpsons has become one of the greatest television shows of all time. From 1989 to 2019, it's been 30 years already, and the movie came out almost 18 years after the series started. Now, this movie has been in development for almost a decade because of the plot. They had to come up with a plot, and the writing itself went through over 100 revisions, which is really crazy. And believe me, it is very crazy, because 100 revisions, that is a lot for a movie to be rewritten. Now, the animation of this movie is very good. I really enjoy the animation, and the voice casting is good, as well as the characters. Like literally almost every character from the series is in the Simpsons movie. And in terms of plot, Homer Simpson, not accidentally, even though, well, maybe actually, Homer Simpson literally dumps stuff in the lake in the middle of the movie, which literally messes up the lake, but which literally gets the town into crazy madness, like blaming Homer for polluting the lake. That's basically one of the few plot points of this movie, where it's basically about the lake. They cleaned up the lake, they cleaned up the lake earlier in the film, but Homer pollutes it once more, and then everybody turns against Homer and his family, which is surprising for a film. And then he has to face off against the government, the EPA, including Russ Cargill, who is being voiced by Albert Brooks, which is surprising. I actually do enjoy the movie. Now, here's the thing: I really enjoy the movie, especially Homer and his parents. No, Homer and his family, as well as getting to know, as well as many great moments of the film, and I do enjoy the animation as well as the music. The Simpsons theme, which they still got the theme being played by Danny Elfman, but not to mention the score. The score itself was composed by Hans Zimmer. That's actually surprising. And as always, Matt Groening has literally created an amazing show as well as a movie. Even though Matt Groening didn't direct this movie, he still served as producer while David Silverman directed this movie. That's literally one of the greatest animated films of all time. And that's why The Simpsons movie is one of my favorite animated movies of all time. And as always, the voice acting is excellent. If I can pronounce their names correctly, but anyway, I'm gonna move on. All right, number 6, Happy Feet. Happy Feet is another movie that came out way before this. Now, this movie, Happy Feet, came out before the Simpsons movie. So anyway, Happy Feet is about a penguin named Mumble, voiced by Elijah Wood, who struggles to become a singer, but in the terms of his feet, he knows how to tap dance. He's basically a tap dancer in this movie, in an animated style of a penguin. Now, that's basically what I like about this movie. Now, this movie, it did tell a very good story of Mumble being a tap dancer instead of a singer, because in the movie, basically, the penguins in this movie are basically singers instead of tap dancers. But anyway, it did set up a pretty good story for Happy Feet. I mean, the direction is good. Speaking of direction, George Miller, who directed Mad Max, directed Happy Feet. Not to mention, he directed other lighthearted films, particularly Babe, that came out in 1995. And the voice casting is good, which includes Elijah Wood as Mumble. Hugh Jackman, fun fact, Hugh Jackman voices his father, including the mother being voiced by Nicole Kidman. Robin Williams plays another penguin named Lovelace. I think his name is Lovelace or something. I believe that's his name. I believe that's the name of the penguin. So many great other voice cast members. I mean, even the animation itself is basically, I think it's motion capture. I believe it's motion capture animation, because I think part of it did have the motion capture of it, which is exactly why I like about this movie. It's almost like if you're watching a live action and animated movie at the same time, but mostly it's motion capture at that time, which is actually surprising for Happy Feet. And fun fact, this movie won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature for George Miller directing Happy Feet, which is actually surprising too. Anyway, moving forward, number 5. Are you ready for number 5, kids? Aye, aye, Captain. I can't hear you. Aye, aye, Captain. All right. It's time for the moment you've been waiting for. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie. All right, number 5 is the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Literally, growing up in my elementary school days, I watched SpongeBob SquarePants, the television series. But literally, once the movie came out, I literally went to watch this movie on DVD. It's literally amazing. The animation is great. It's basically what you expect from a SpongeBob TV series. But anyway, it's also the plot of this movie is excellent, where SpongeBob, voiced by Tom Kenny, is going on a mission with his friend Patrick Star to find King Neptune's crown in the Forbidden Shell City, while he also has to face what it means of him being a kid while facing it of adulthood and kid. Now, that's actually what I like about this movie, because somewhere in the movie, in the beginning of the movie, Mr. Krabs calls SpongeBob out as a kid because he didn't promote him as the store manager. Instead, he promotes Squidward as the store manager because being a manager takes a lot of responsibility, and SpongeBob is basically a kid, which is actually understanding because, like, sometimes not everybody can get a promotion, and that's actually understanding. But for SpongeBob, since SpongeBob is a kid, that's basically understanding now. And throughout this movie, he had to prove himself that he's not just only a kid, but he's also brave. He was brave enough with Patrick Star to go to Shell City to find the crown, while also facing off Plankton and the bounty hunter that Plankton just sent out, named Dennis, which is surprisingly being voiced by Alec Baldwin. Anyway, and also a surprise cameo appearance by David Hasselhoff in a live-action segment. Basically, a part of this movie throughout, I think the third act, somewhere in the third act of this movie is basically live action and animation, which is actually what I liked about that part. And as well as Patrick and SpongeBob being goofy goobers, which the moments where they were almost killed, barely killed. That was basically a sad moment. I had to let it out. Sorry, people, I gotta let it out. But anyway, even in the end, when SpongeBob stops Plankton, he proves himself. Even though he's still a kid, there is still some inner man of himself inside. He may be a kid, but sometimes you gotta be brave enough to be a man. Still gotta be brave enough to be a man. And hey, even a goofy goober can be a man too. You know? Okay, that's just probably my thoughts. Anyway, moving forward. Number 4, Rango. Going back to the motion capture part, and as well, Rango is another Nickelodeon movie, which is basically being brought to life by Pirates of the Caribbean director and star Johnny Depp. Well, actually, scratch that. Pirates of the Caribbean directors, collaborators, Gore Verbinski and Johnny Depp brought this movie, Rango, to life, a Western motion capture animated movie to life, where Johnny Depp voices a lizard named Rango, who finds himself lost in the desert after being in a huge car crash after an armadillo who gets run over by a car, where suddenly Rango is out of his tank or cage or something, and he has to prove himself who he is, which I actually thought was actually a pretty good part, especially in a Western-like animated movie. And basically throughout the movie, Rango becomes the sheriff of a town called Dirt. And basically throughout the movie, they had to find water. And in a desert setting, that is pretty important. You gotta find water. Now, what I actually like about this movie is basically the motion capture performances, as well as the voice actors or acting by Johnny Depp. He did a very good job bringing Rango to life, including the director Gore Verbinski, as well as composer Hans Zimmer, who recently did the Pirates of the Caribbean songs, now composing the Rango movie. Now, as well as other Pirates of the Caribbean collaborator, Bill Nye, who voiced a rattlesnake called Rattlesnake Jake, which is actually a surprisingly good villain. Now the movie is actually pretty good. The story itself was very well done, and not to mention, this is also another film that won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature for in 2011. I think this at the 2012 Oscars, since Rango came out in 2011, which won the Oscar for that. And this is a very good movie. Literally, I feel like Rango is one of the few underrated movies of all time, and this is literally one of the greatest animated movies of all time in my point. And this is literally one of the greatest movies I ever liked in an animated film. All right, moving forward. Number 3, How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon is one of DreamWorks' greatest animated movies of all time. It literally started a trilogy, even a TV series. And it started out as books before being transitioned to a movie. Now it's about a story about a boy named Hiccup, who literally wants to fight dragons, but he soon comes to realize that fighting dragons is something more. there's more to finding dragons. But he soon befriends a dragon named Toothless, who is basically a night fury, to which he accidentally shots down. Now, in this movie, Hiccup becomes friends with the dragon, while also facing off between like training to become a dragon fighter while also being friends with the dragon. And that's what I liked about this movie. It's literally one of those few lighthearted movies that is so good. Even the story itself is very good, especially the music score, the voice acting, which has Jay Barchel. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Jay Barchel voices Hiccup in this movie. And literally, amazing voice acting in this movie, including America Ferrera, Gerald Butler, as well as T.J. Miller, Kristen Wiig. Yeah, there we go. I almost lost myself. Jonah Hill, among many other voice actors. Literally, this movie is literally amazing movie to experience, as well as the sequels. The sequels are good too. I just went to see the third How to Train Your Dragons movie. I actually enjoyed that one too, and I thought the send off in the third movie is good. But as always, you can't beat the original How to Train Your Dragon movie. It's literally an amazing movie to watch, and I really do love this movie. All right, moving forward. Number 2, Shrek. Somebody once told me that Shrek will be on this list. Oh man, I think I lost the rhythm to this. Literally, okay. I know. Sorry, I was in the moment right now because literally at the start of this movie, Shrek had the All-Star song, one of the greatest songs of all time. Which literally every time when All-Star comes on, you will probably think of Shrek. And literally, Shrek is one of my favorite animated films of all time. Now, I was originally gonna top this at number 1, but I'm pretty sure number 1 would come as a surprise. But anyway, Shrek is one of DreamWorks' greatest movies of all time. And I did mention Steven Spielberg earlier on. He did, however, produce this film, although he was left uncredited in this film. But he did work on this film, but by bringing the rights of I think it was the rights of the book, because the Shrek was based on a book. And throughout the mid and late 90s, they had to bring this film to life. Now, actually, fun fact, not only did Mike Myers voice Shrek, but he was originally going to be voiced by Chris Farley, to which he and Mike Myers were basically cast members of Saturday Night Live before his death in 1997. Now, actually, fun fact: if you go on YouTube, there's actually unused footage. There's actually footage on YouTube of a storyboard of Shrek being voiced by Chris Farley. So go check that out on YouTube. And I'm not making this up. It's already on YouTube anyway. Where Chris Farley does a storyboard voice of Shrek. Anyway, moving forward, what I like about Shrek is basically of the story. The story itself is excellent. Where Shrek is basically an ogre. He's an ogre going through his day, but while also he noticed something's up, like the fairy tale creatures are being wanted. He befriends a donkey, being voiced by Eddie Murphy. They go on a mission to rescue a princess being named Fiona, voiced by Cameron Diaz, while facing off against the evil Lord Farquaad, voiced by John Lithgow. Now, literally, the story itself is excellent, very good. Even the writing itself is actually pretty good and funny, because not only this movie's good, but it tackle a lot of good and funny jokes. I think I'm going a little too far on this one, but anyway, no. There were some jokes in there I actually liked, but I'm not gonna tell you anyway. Yeah, you probably seen this movie, you probably know what it was. Anyway, story is good. I do love the animation itself is excellent for a 2001 film, and actually, fun fact: this was the very first animated film to ever win an Oscar for Best Animated Feature, beating out Monsters Inc. and Jimmy Neutron. literally a surprise to many people. Literally surprise to many people. This movie is very good, memorable, especially the opening song. Not to mention, it literally poked fun of Disney because it did tackle the fairy tale creatures from Disney as well. Not to mention, the sequels are also good too. The three other sequels were amazing, but not to mention, the original will always be a classic. The original Shrek will always be a classic, and I think DreamWorks did a very nice job in this movie. And I know there's talks of a fifth movie coming up. I think there's going to be a reboot, but depending on whether or not the franchise continues, the very first Shrek movie will always remain a classic. All right. Number 1, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Taking the top spot on this list is the animated movie that literally brought superheroes to their feet. And literally, that probably came out pretty bad, but anyway, this is literally one of the greatest animated movies of all time. Not to mention, greatest superhero movie of all time. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse literally brings the animation to life like you were watching a comic book movie. Literally, the animation steals the show. With Phil Lord and Christopher Miller going behind the scenes as producers, with amazing voice cast, which includes Shamiak Moore, Haley Steinfeld, Nicolas Cage, Jake Johnson, Chris Pine, Liv Schreiber, among many other voice actors, including Mahershala Ali. Literally, this movie, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, is amazing. It tackles the Spider-Verse storyline and the Miles Morales storyline perfectly in this movie. Literally, the story is good. Even the humor itself is also good, too. They also poked fun of other Spider-Man movies, especially Spider-Man 3, which I thought is amazing, including the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, which included Tobey Maguire, especially the dance scene the infamous dance scene in Spider-Man 3, which I thought was pretty hilarious, though. Anyway, I do love the story. The animation is good. Soundtrack is good. Characters, amazing. Action sequences is excellent. It literally won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature at the 2019 Oscars, which I really do thought it was worth mentioning because of the animation itself is excellent. Like it's something that you watch out of a comic book movie. Not to mention, this film took over 100 animators to bring this animation to life. Now that is something big, people. Literally, this was literally something worth the watch, man. And believe me, this is a movie. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is a movie to enjoy. One of the greatest superhero movies of all time, and I just can't wait for the sequel to come out. As well as the spin-offs. Okay, and there you have it, folks. This is my top 10 favorite animated movies of all time. What do you think? Do you think I'm missing a few other animated movies? Do you think I should do another animated movies list, or maybe do a Disney one? Do an animated Disney movie? So anyway, all right. So anyway, let me know. But anyway, that's probably something I could probably come up with. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in to Codo's Cinema. Anyway, for anybody who's going home for fall break, for this week, have a safe trip back home. Enjoy your fall break. But as always, enjoy your week. Enjoy your fall break. Also enjoy your Monday afternoon. And thank you all for tuning in to Codo's Cinema. And as always, I'm your host, Mark Codo. Thank you all for tuning in. And I'll see you all later. Bye.